Hello, you guys. I just wanted to come and talk to you about playing games, right? And it's actually pretty amazing the sheer number of men and women who play lots and lots of games. It's not attractive, and I'm talking about games in a relationship. It's not just not attractive, it's really counterproductive to a healthy relationship. And unfortunately, as women, we are notorious for this, but make no mistake, men play a lot of games too. So the goal is to not be that chick, right? And to pick that man. And when you are engaged, like in a full on relationship, and that's kind of what I want to deal with here, there can be situations where you're not exactly trying to play games, but you could be in a situation where there's genuinely something wrong and you fall into game mode. So I'm going to give you like a real life example because y'all, I'm old, so I'll use myself as an example. So I had a situation once where I was feeling a little bit frustrated. So in this relationship with the man that I was with at the time, um, there was an issue with if I said something to him, he would just like blatantly ignore me. Okay. So this is a person who is typically very sweet, kind, loving, da 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 da. So I was really taken aback. This was on the heels of like a really good week, too. We had had a really awesome week. Everything, to my understanding, was going fine, right? And um, all of a sudden, like I would say something to him and I would have to say it again. And then I would be like, hello, are you going to answer me? And he wouldn't. And so my attitude was, well, then I'm going to withdraw and let him come to me. And well, no, that's not true. That wasn't my first attitude. My first attitude was like, hey, can we talk? Because I've noticed like when I speak to you, you're not really responding. Like, is there a problem? And he was literally like, I'm going to read a book. Okay. So that was irritating. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to punish him. You know, what I'm going to do is I'm going to withhold my affection. I'm not going to talk to him at all. And when he's ready to talk, he can come to me. Right. And um, that would be an example of a game. Now, I caught myself, right? Because at the time, this was a period where I was growing past a childish mindset. And for 2 days, I was going to roll with it. And I was willing to go longer. But then I was like, you know what? This is not the kind of relationship I want. This is not the life that I want. This is not the me I want to be. So I just went and I was like, let's have this conversation. Like, I don't want to um, have to assume what the problem is. Are you willing to talk? Um, and are we going to discuss this? And in this case, he tried to flip it, and make it like it was my fault. And I just wasn't having that. But I insisted on that honest dialogue and I checked myself. And I think in life, it could be a lot like that. Like if you're in a relationship with somebody, they can do something and you're like, well, I'm going to withhold sex. Well, I'm going to have an attitude. Well, we'll see who breaks first, right? That's what I was doing. Like, who's going to break first? But I think a big part of healthy relationships, other than communication, because communication is key and honesty is key, because honesty and communication build trust, right? So, other than those things, it's the ability to not play games. It's the ability to be very adult about things. Not to be like, I'm going to say this to see what they're going to say. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to do this to see what their reaction is. Or, you start interpreting things like, did he let me get the last piece of food? Does he open my door? Like, instead of trying to analyze people and play mind games and give people tests and things like that, it's best to just have the conversation, you know? Just have the conversation. If you think a person is engaging in some sort of behavior that's inappropriate, if you think that there's a problem, if you're feeling some kind of way, have the conversation and have it in a respectful way. I mean, there can be passion there because sometimes we feel how we feel, right? But the goal is to have it in a respectful way and to have the conversation. Don't expect anybody to read your mind. Um, don't put people, when you take a test at school, they tell you it's going to be a test, right? Like even if it's a pop quiz, your teacher announces, okay, we're going to have a pop quiz, right? You know that you're being tested. Like the worst thing you can do to another person is be testing them and then they're not aware that they're being tested. And then you're interpreting the results of this test that only you know about. And also a red flag is to look for, now, obviously this channel is for women, so I'm talking about us. This does not mean men don't do this. But obviously, if you have a man that moves that way as well, you're going to want to separate yourself from him because the goal is not to just be in a relationship, right? The goal is to be in a healthy and fruitful relationship. And so many times we don't choose that for ourselves. So I think that's actually going to be the next video that I make, which is like, you are worth it, right? He's not the only one. So we need to know when to pass on somebody that's a game player, is my point. And we need to not play games. We will get the most out of a relationship, but more importantly, we will get the most out of ourselves if games have nothing to do with how we approach our dealings with our potential partners or our partners. And a man will respect that a great deal if he's a real man, right? He will respect that about you. And this doesn't mean approach him with yelling and screaming and hollering for the dialogue. This means you can come with your emotion, but come stably and be as adult about the situation as you can be. With no games. With no games whatsoever. And that's harder to do, right? It's harder to do because I've been young, it's harder to do than you think because a lot of us, our go-to function is games. Oh, well, if he's going to be like this, I'm going to be like this. That's a game, right? Like I said earlier, we'll see who breaks first. Oh, you want to be like that? Okay, I got something for you. Games, right? At the end of the day, the goal needs to be to fix whatever needs to be fixed in a relationship or leave the relationship. No need staying in something broken. But if it's worth it to you, then let it be worth it to fix it. And we have to attempt early on not to develop bad habits because everybody brings baggage to the table of some kind. And the goal is to grow as people together, not to be as at odds with each other. A partnership, a marriage, it is about walking through life together and hopefully progressing together. And so in that, you guys are on the same side ultimately. And since you're on the same side, there are no need for games. Our men are not our opponents, right? They are our partners and we're on the same team. And with that said, I'm going to go, you guys. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Some food for thought for me, for you. I'll talk to you later.